Whispers of the Past. Chapter 1. The Return. Rain poured relentlessly over the cobbled streets of Savannah as I locked up my bookstore, Timeless Tales. My fingers were stiff from the cold as I fumbled with the old brass key, cursing the ancient lock. The scent of old paper and lavender still clung to my coat, grounding me in the familiar comfort of my world. Just as I tugged the door shut, a strange sensation washed over me, a prickling awareness, like someone was watching. Slowly I turned. Through the shimmering curtain of rain, I saw him. A tall, broad-shouldered figure in a dark coat stood under the street lamp, his silver-streaked hair catching the dim glow. His gaze locked onto mine, sharp and familiar. My breath hitched. He seemed familiar in a way that stirred old memories best left buried. Chapter 2. A familiar stranger. I convinced myself it was just my imagination until he walked into Timeless Tales 3 days later. "Good afternoon," he greeted, his voice rich and smooth, the kind you can't forget. "I'm looking for a classic, something timeless." I felt an inexplicable warmth spreading through my chest. He smiled, and I swore my knees went weak, and my age no less. I composed myself. "You've come to the right place." We fell into easy conversation about books, Savannah's history, and forgotten legends. He introduced himself as Robert Sinclair, newly returned from Europe to restore his family's old estate, Whispering Oaks. His gaze lingered on me just a moment longer than politeness required. As he turned to leave, he glanced back with a faint, knowing smile. "I'll be seeing you again, Evelyn." Chapter 3. An Unexpected Invitation. The next week, Robert returned, carrying a beautifully bound first edition of Wuthering Heights. "I saw this and thought of you," he said. My heart thudded. No one had thought of me like that in years. He invited me to dinner at Whispering Oaks, his family's long-abandoned mansion on the outskirts of town. My sensible side hesitated, but something inside me, some long-forgotten thrill, pushed me to accept. That evening, I chose a burgundy dress that hugged my figure in all the right places. When Robert opened the massive oak doors, his appreciative gaze warmed me in a way I hadn't felt in decades. Chapter 4. Secrets of the Mansion. Dinner was exquisite, lit by flickering candlelight and accompanied by a vintage Bordeaux that tasted like forbidden indulgence. We talked for hours, memories unraveling as if time had never separated us. Afterward, Robert offered me a tour of the estate. Whispering Oaks was breathtaking, velvet-draped windows, polished wood floors, and chandeliers that sparkled like captured stars. Yet beneath its beauty, there was something haunted. We stopped at a lock-study door. "This was my great-uncle's domain," Robert murmured. He was obsessed with finding something. Drove him mad. Before I could question further, the old grandfather clock in the hallway chimed midnight, its haunting echo lingering in the silent air. Chapter 5. Shadows from the Past. That night I couldn't sleep. My dreams were vivid, filled with whispers and touches. Cool fingers trailing down my arms, soft murmurs of my name. I awoke breathless, my skin tingling as though someone had truly been there. Determined not to let superstition get the better of me, I spent the next afternoon exploring the mansion while Robert was away. Behind an old tapestry, I discovered a narrow passage leading to a hidden room. Dust-covered shelves lined the walls, and in the center sat a locked chest engraved with strange runes. Suddenly, Robert's voice broke the silence behind me. "You found it," he said, his voice low and unreadable. "I knew you would." Chapter 6. A Dangerous Obsession. Despite the growing unease gnawing at me, I couldn't resist Robert, or the magnetic force pulling us together. We shared long, lingering glances over candlelit dinners, our fingers grazing accidentally across the table. One stormy evening, as thunder growled in the distance, he pulled me into his arms, his touch igniting something raw and primal. Our lips met, fierce and desperate, and for the first time in years, I felt truly alive. But even in the heat of our passion, I couldn't ignore the dark edge in his eyes, a depth of longing that felt almost dangerous. Chapter 7. seduction, and deception. Robert's charm was intoxicating, but his secrecy haunted me. He disappeared at odd hours, returning with mud-streaked clothes and hollow eyes. One night, unable to resist my curiosity, I followed him through the winding halls. I found him in the old study, speaking in hushed tones with a hooded figure. Their words were indistinct but crackled with tension. Had I been seduced into something far darker than a simple romance? Chapter 8. The Key to the Heart. Determined to uncover the truth, I searched the study alone. Hidden in a hollowed-out book, I found a map marked with symbols matching those on the mysterious chest. Before I could process what I'd found, Robert appeared, his face carved with anger and fear. "You shouldn't be here," he growled, his hands trapping me against the desk. His touch was firm, but his fingers trembled slightly. "Were you ever going to tell me the truth?" I demanded. For a breathless moment, he stared at me, then crushed his lips against mine, fierce and desperate, as though kissing me might somehow save us both. Chapter 9. The Final Revelation. With the map in hand, we uncovered Whispering Oak's darkest secret, a hidden vault beneath the mansion containing the key to breaking the estate's ancient curse. "I came back for the treasure," Robert confessed, his voice thick with emotion. "But I stayed because of you." Together, we unlocked the mansion's secret, but not without a price. The dark forces tethered to Whispering Oaks demanded something far greater than we expected. Epilogue. Whispers of the Future. Months later, Whispering Oaks thrived with warmth and life. Robert and I stood hand in hand, ready to rebuild our shared future. The mansion was free from its haunted past, but sometimes, late at night, I could still hear faint whispers in the wind, memories of a love that defied time itself.